I'm just going to do this until we're live. There we
We
are.
are
We're
live.
live. Oh my God. And I got to figure out how to make
Hey.
it go live on Instagram as well. I think I'm supposed to click go live. What is up, everyone? I wanted to do something different. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Maya May, former comedian, I guess.
Once a comedian, always a comedian.
You know what I mean? Like, you can't take the funny out of the girl except
No.
for when I'm on the floor crying.
Sometimes even then you can be funny.
And that's the thing. Like, I was on the floor, I was crying, and then I just looked up and I said, "This is why I should have gone to the gym today."
That's basically every morning for me.
but also crying at the gym sometimes. Adrian, so to introduce you, you have been a journalist for, oh my God, decades? Are we that old?
Yes. 21 years now.
Oh my God.
I know.
I want to cut the feed now because I'm sad that we're old.
Now you want to start crying again.
All right. What are we doing here? I want to just, so everyone, I feel like everything's so crazy and dystopian right now. And every time I see a morning show, I have to laugh because they're often acting as if the rest of the world isn't happening around us. And so I feel like we need a fun way to talk about everything that's going on in our world. But I'm calling it America, You Got This with a question mark because I don't know that we've got this. And so I want to talk to all of my friends who are abroad, and I'm abroad myself, to see if we've got this. And Adrian and I were just talking about this week. And Adrian, you told me you think we do got this.
I am cautiously optimistic. I hope that eventually we can change the name of this segment to America, You Got This.
You got
Not a
this.
question mark, but like exclamation mark, you know? We can do this.
No, but we've got to look crazy. Like, let's just start. Like, we've got to look crazy from abroad. I know this. Like, you and I met in Argentina, and I remember thinking like, oh, American politics was very chill at the time. And I was in Argentina was crazy. Like, we had politicians with like tattoos on their necks, and Christina Kirchner wasn't attending. Like, remember, she didn't attend like the baton passing ceremony.
Yes, she refused actually.
Right?
The inauguration ceremony in Argentina, which is twofold. First, the president-elect goes to the Casa Rosada, which is the presidential palace, and that the president that's leaving passes on a baton, literally. And then once the new president takes the baton, then they walk towards Congress, where they give the inauguration speech. She refused to attend the baton ceremony, so someone else had to give it to. Then it was President Mauricio Macri. Someone else had to give it to him, and then he walked to Congress. But she did not attend. I remember that 10 years ago when we were seeing Trump and his antics during the first presidential campaign. Everything that we saw him do, we had already seen in Argentina with Christina Kirchner. One may be right, the other one may be left-ish when it's convenient, but the strategies were the same and the populism was the same. So to us, and those of us living in Argentina, Trump was nothing new. Everything that he was doing, we had already seen when we were living down there.
But see, that's what's crazy is because I feel like a lot of people in the US got caught flat-footed. Like, this is like, oh, we weren't expecting this. We didn't know this was going to happen, which is why I want to do this show so we can hear the perspectives from people who are abroad and who are looking at us like, what are you guys doing?
And we in Spain are fighting now head on with Trump. So fun time.
We're gonna kick you out of NATO. So there.
Well, you can't. So you can try, but it's not gonna lead anywhere.
Yeah, this was just reported. I think this was just today. I just feel like they're making things up as they go along, and And this seems to be, like you said, not even mildly legal.
It's
What's the
not a thing. I
reaction
mean,
in Spain for like from people when they see stuff like this? Do you guys hate us now?
I mean, yes and no. Obviously, it depends on who you ask. There's people who understand that the president of the United States does not represent the entire population of the United States, and then of course there's people who they now dislike the United States as a whole because of what the Trump administration is doing. But this morning, I would say that Spain, for those who do not know, is very polarized, just like every other country in the Western world. So there are people who are blaming Prime Minister Pedro Sanchez for standing up to Trump and for refusing to let fighters use the Spanish military bases in the south of Spain that are also used by American soldiers. So Trump is now trying to find a way to punish Spain, and one of those things that apparently was being considered was kicking NATO out of Spain out of NATO, which is not a thing. You can't do that. Like there's no
you
mechanism
can't sit with us,
right? But there is no mechanism in place to kick a NATO member from the organization. So NATO has already responded, not officially, but NATO sources has been talking to El Mundo, which is one of the leading newspapers here, and they said, there is no way that that we can expel Spain from NATO. It's just not a thing, and it's not being considered at all. It's not something that would happen definitely not something that would happen because Donald Trump decided that it had to happen, right? So it's either a smokescreen out of another one of the many that we're used to seeing every day. It's also extremely ignorant because do they know how NATO works? And then at the same, there you go, that's it. And then it's just another thing that can be added to the list of things that Trump is doing to Spain, and that in the end end up helping Pedro Sanchez, who is now very popular abroad because of him being one of the first ones who decided to stand up to Trump. So yeah, it's a very interesting time to be in Spain right now.
Well, and when he did stand up to Trump, I think that was when Trump threatened to end trade just altogether.
Which he also couldn't do. There's no bilateral trade between the U.S. and Spain. The U.S. trades with the EU, so there's no way that he can just stop trading. Maybe he can block some products from Spain. But it's just everything is so childish and so unproductive, because this is kind of like it just keeps escalating, right? And it doesn't stop anywhere. And for now, it seems that Sanchez is getting away with it. There are rumors, and this is unconfirmed, but there are rumors that and this is coming from a source in the U.S. government, but there are intentions to shut down one of the operations in one of the Spanish military bases. Again, this is unconfirmed, so it may not happen, but I have been hearing a lot of that as punishment for Sanchez's refusal to let fighters participating in the Iran war refuel or even fly over Spain. I mean, they were blocked from using the Spanish airspace as well.
Well, and I was actually shocked to hear, because we're not seeing it as much, at least I haven't seen it, that there are people in Spain who are like, no, actually, we want you to use our air bases and we want to be a part of the Iran war. So who are these people? This is which party is this?
Well, so Spain used to be a kind of like a two-party country until 2013, 2014, when things got fragmented and Podemos appeared, which is kind of like the far left, and Vox, which is now the far right. And both the Partido Popular, which is the center right, and Vox, which is the far right, they both initially supported the military actions in Iran. A lot of people in Spain were not happy with that. many people have decided to move away from the far right and back to the center. It's not a significant change. Maybe it's a couple of points according to the latest polls, but a lot of people were upset. Around 70% of the Spanish population is against what's happening in Iran. So even after a few weeks, when it was clear that the Trump administration had no exit strategy for what was happening in Iran, not just in Spain, but in other countries in Europe, like in Italy, leaders had to start finding an off-ramp to supporting the military operations in Iran, like Giorgia Meloni, who found a way to stop supporting Trump after he insulted Pope Leo. And it's been similar here. First, the center-right reacted very negatively to when Trump said that, what was the expression? Open the Strait of Hormuz, you crazy fucking bastards.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
Not crazy. It was worse. And then he said, I'm going to eliminate the whole civilization. The center right didn't really like that in Spain. The leader of the center right said, this is not how you talk. This is not how you solve problems. So that's when they apparently decided to stop supporting Trump. And then the far right also had no choice but to come out and say that the way that Trump had referred to Pope Leo and this whole fight with the Catholic Church was also not acceptable. Don't forget that the Vox, which is the far right party here, they are very much pro-Catholicism. They're very conservative. They're very pro-Catholic Church, pro-military, and pro-monarchy. And it's interesting because in the last year and a half, they have managed to pick fights with all those three, which makes you question how much of their convictions are tied to those three pillars of society versus their just decision to follow Trump blindly, which they usually do.
Well, and this is the thing. Trump should know. I mean, of course, he's not going to know, and he probably doesn't care, but he's not going to beat the Pope. And so to me, and maybe he doesn't understand that these are Catholic countries that he's insulting at times. But it's absolutely, what is it that kid who constantly acts up to try to not just get attention like the problem child, but also to make I'm going to act crazy to see if you really love me. Like, I'm going to see how crazy I can be and see if people still love me.
Right. I mean, he tweeted a photo of himself looking like Jesus, which he says was a doctor. But I think that's pretty, that was also kind of like a bridge too far for a lot of people in the US. And of course here, I'm surprised to see that many people who used to support him here in Spain, because maybe people from the US do not understand how big Trump is all over the world. He has tons of followers, not just regular people, but political parties who get inspired by Trumpism, and they just decide to import his ways. And he had a lot of supporters here in Spain. He still does, but a lot of them had decided, no, I think I'm kind of done. And then again,
the doctor.
There's a doctor.
There's the doctor.
Killing, and that weird demon flying in the back. I have no idea what the hell that is, but it's very creepy.
Does this kind of stuff make it to Spanish television, like at night? Because one of the things people, MAGA's like, and Trump tries to say this all the time, we're crushing it. America's the hottest country right now. Everyone loves us. And the thing is, nobody in the US knows what happens on Spanish television. So we don't get to actually see it.
Every crazy thing that Trump does, it's all over TV. It's all over the news here. Like, state television, private networks, it's everywhere. We follow Trump very closely because whenever Trump sneezes, the whole world catches a cold. So it's not as simple as to just ignore him, even though we'd love to, but we can't. So the local media follows everything that Trump does, especially in the Middle East, but what's happening in Gaza, what's happening with Israel, and the war in Iran.
So Americans have been going to escape to Spain, just as people have been escaping to Portugal. Are people in like? I kind of sometimes try to pretend I'm like French. Like, I'm like, are Americans freaking out? Like, oh God, this is embarrassing. How do we hide?
I've heard a lot of people who, I don't know if they say it as a joke or not, but I've heard a lot of people, I've met many Americans who say, sometimes I say I'm Canadian, just to not even engage in conversation about Trump. Because usually if you're American, they're like, oh, that Trump, huh? He's nuts. And surprisingly, I think that this is because of a variety of reasons, but Spain is now kind of like a beacon for many Americans who are considering moving here and who are buying property here like crazy, just to, not even as a second home as it used to happen in the past, but now because they want to live here. Maybe it's the lifestyle, maybe it's all the socialism that we have, I don't know, but lots of Americans are buying property here. It's just the neighborhood has changed. So my neighborhood in Madrid has changed so much in the last 5 years. It's Americans everywhere now.
I want to touch on that and what that looks like here in Portugal. But we have a question from Dan Macias that I was hoping you could answer. Claudia Scheinbaum was in Barcelona last week. First, Mexico now they're going to have universal health care, which is something that in the US we obviously do not have. So how was that visit received? What are your thoughts on her?
And also, and side note, we are also giving free healthcare not just to people in Spain, but also if you're everybody, like if you're a tourist, if you're a foreigner, doesn't matter if you're here legal, illegally, doesn't matter, if you need medical attention, you get it.
Wait, what?
Yes, that was recently passed, and of course, a lot of people are against it. But this was one of the things that the current government passed recently. Immigration is a huge issue in Spain right now. They're also in Parliament. They're trying to pass a bill that is going to regularize 500,000 immigrants who are in who have what's it called, irregular status, or
irregular status, who are undocumented.
Undocumented.
So they're giving them amnesty potentially, and which is obviously very different than how we're handling things in the US. Is it because they're already integrated into Spanish life and they just want to regularize them?
I haven't forgotten about the Claudia Scheinbaum question, so I'll answer it. But there's several reasons. One, and by the way, they're not getting like citizenship or anything like that. They're getting work permits, so they will be able to work in Spain legally rather than working illegally, which is something that was already happening. So the logic, according to Prime Minister Pedro Sanchez, the logic is these people are already in the country, they're already contributing to society, and they are undocumented. So let's just give them documents so that they can work.
Seems logical. Seems like that should be something that we could do.
Yes. There's a lot of criticism as well. There's a lot of disinformation about it. Of course, many people were saying, well, this is going to he's just trying to get additional votes. He's doing this so that people will vote for him in the next election, which is in 2027. These people are going to get any kind of like financial aid that they need, and they will be able to access free healthcare. They will be able to settle in Spain. We're going to be there's a situation here in Spain that is similar to what happens between the US and Mexico. Here, Morocco being so close to Spain. Spain has a lot of Moroccan immigrants. Many of them are undocumented. So people are saying, oh, now there's going to be this wave of Moroccan immigrants that are just going to be invading Spain. And this is the word they use, right? Invading Spain. But all those things are inaccurate. First of all, 90% of the population, or 90% of that group of people, undocumented people, are from Latin America. So these are people who are already integrated into the system. They speak the same language, they have the same culture. So there is no difficulty getting them integrated into Spanish society. And also, they will not qualify for any sort of financial aid from the government. And also, they cannot vote because they're not getting citizenship. They're getting a work permit. That they can get citizenship maybe further down the road, but that's going to be in a few years. It's not going to be it's not going to happen next year. And then even if they did get the vote, which is again is not happening, a lot of the people from Latin America that move to Spain do it escaping left-wing governments, the socialist governments. So they don't really necessarily like Prime Minister Pedro Sanchez very much because he's center left, right?
Well,
So again, it's a very controversial decision. There's even some people in the EU who are unhappy with it because they're saying, well, you're just letting people into the EU, right? And then again, he says, well, but they were already there. They're already in Spain, so they can cross over to France or to Germany or wherever, and it doesn't make a difference. I mean, they're going to be illegal there as well. So.
Well, also the alternative, like, what's the alternative? Expel people? I mean, we're seeing what the alternative is like in the US, which is
according to the far right party, which is Vox. Yes, that is the alternative. Massive deportations, which is again, they're just importing the Trumpism.
I was gonna say, do they see how it's playing out? Like, I'm thinking about in World Cup coming up. I would. Like, I've seen reports that people are hesitant about coming to the US to play. And so I would think just even understanding, oh, this might affect my life as a person traveling to the US to attend the World Cup, because the people who are traveling are wealthy enough to be able to afford the tickets, which are insanely priced. And there's no empathy there from those folks.
Right. No. I don't think there is. I don't think there ever was. To them, to many of these people, empathy is actually a bad thing. So they just see what the White House is doing, and they just want to replicate it here. In fact, what's happening now, and this is something that is being discussed this week, is this new term that's being thrown around, which is national priority. That means for a few regional governments that have just been formed, and they have been formed, they're a coalition of two governments. It's the center right and the far right. They have to create a government together because otherwise neither has enough votes to govern. And one of the requests that the far right has made the center right is that they start focusing on national priority. Which is a system that they put together in which there's kind of like a ranking, and based on several things like where you were born, how long you lived there, how much you contributed, paying taxes, where you went to school, where your parents live, where your children live, you get a certain score. And then the people who have the highest score are always going to be their priority in order to get housing benefits, financial benefits, etc. In theory, that would not be discrimination, right? Because you're like, well, I mean, if you are an immigrant who's been living in Extremadura, which is one of the communities in Spain, for 10 years, and you're a Spaniard who just moved there, the immigrant has a higher ranking than you. But in general, most of the people who are going to be at the top of the ranking are Spaniards. And they've come up with that because it's barely legal to them, but the Spanish government plans to take them to the Supreme Court because they say that this is illegal. And they want this system to expand all over the country because they say that Spaniards come first, which goes against Spanish law and EU law. So that's the reality that we're living with here in Spain when it comes to immigrants.
I mean, I would like people to. I want to obviously learn from Spain, but I think they should learn from the mistakes that we're making in the U.S. and seeing the complete fracturing and division of the country. And also, that just sounds very complicated. Like, I know we have AI now, and they can probably run that through some sort of sorting algorithmic system, and that'll spit out a score, a culture score for people. But that also sounds insane. Like, why can't we just be good people? Why can't we be nice people?
Because the foreigners are taking over. You know,
you have to answer Dan's question on Scheinbaum, and then we have another question coming in from Twitch, which we're streaming to Twitch, and like I've never used Twitch, so I have no idea how many people are watching, but there's at least one person who has a question. So the Scheinbaum question first, and then we'll.
So yes, regarding your question, Dan, I do not really follow Mexican politics closely. I just read about them very superficially, so I couldn't comment on that on a deeper level. I do think that Scheinbaum has, I know that Scheinbaum is a very popular political figure in Mexico right now. The reason why she was here in Barcelona in the I think it was on Saturday, which was this very progressive summit, along with Lula, the president of Brazil, and Prime Minister Pedro Sanchez, and Gustavo Petro from Colombia, etc. They are seeing that, and again, this is something that we discussed the other day, Maya, and the reason why I'm feeling slightly optimistic. They are seeing that there's starting to be some cracks in this sort of like global far-right movement. I think it started with Viktor Orban in Hungary losing the elections, Trump being in a very weakened position right now because he's very unpopular. Javier Milei in Argentina is at the worst time of his since he started his term. So the reason why Sanchez wanted Scheinbaum and Lula and many other very progressive and popular political figures to be there is because he wants to show or create this united front against what they see as this existential threat, which is the far-right movement that is expanding all over the world. And I see this because it's also happening here in Spain. So Vox, which is the far right, they have been growing for the last 6 to 9 months. They have been growing in the polls like crazy. And yes, and especially, unfortunately, especially young people, young men are very attracted to them. There's this sort of like this sort of romanticization of the Franco dictatorship. You know, Spain had 40 years of dictatorship, and Francisco Franco was the generalissimo of Spain for 40 years, and people are suddenly saying, well, maybe it wasn't so bad. So we saw Vox go from maybe like a 7% to now being around 18%. And in the most recent elections, they were expected to do very well and cross the psychological line of 20% of the vote, and they failed to do that. And they seem to have plateaued now. So it's still very early to say whether this is a trend or is just a plateau, and then they're going to keep growing. But there's another election coming in Andalusia, which is one of the biggest regional communities in Spain, in the south, and apparently they're not even going to make it to have enough votes to form government with the center right. So apparently the center right is going to get the votes they need just to govern alone, according to the polls. So this could be a time when suddenly people are starting to realize that Vox may not be everything they say they are. They are always presenting themselves as this sort of extremely patriotic, you know, Spain first. Their youth organization, one of them is called Make Spain Great Again. It's you know, all this sort of like Spanish version of Trumpism. But then they just do whatever Trump says they have to do, right? So and sometimes they even, when Trump announced the tariffs on the EU last year, this affected farmers in Spain who they claim to represent, and yet they blamed Sanchez for the tariffs. And they said, well, if Sanchez had just done whatever Trump wanted, then we wouldn't be dealing with tariffs now. Which again is his fault. Again, it's false because the tariffs are for the EU, not just for Spain. The US cannot apply tariffs on Spain alone. So I think a lot of people are starting to see that Vox may not be that sort of extremely patriotic party that they claim to be, because if the president of the United States says jump and you jump, and you seem to go against what 70% of the population of your country think, then maybe you're not as patriotic as you say you are.
Well, I mean, and that's exactly what's happening in the US. You have all of these people who voted for Trump who are like, for America first and no more wars. And now they're like, wait, you said America first and now you're doing it. And I'm so confused. And so it's like the people who are still clinging to these parties might not be so bright. Like, I don't want to say that, but I already just did. They might.
I have to say that sometimes I empathize, because they are very, very good at social media, and they are very, very good with disinformation campaigns. And that's one of the reasons why we're all prisoners of our algorithm, right? At the end of the day, they sometimes I have conversations with them, and these people seem to live in a completely alternate timeline. It's a different reality for them. Things that they think happened that never happened, and they talk to me about things that they say never happened when in fact they did happen. So it's a very complex issue, and I think that when it comes to this, and I know that this is not easy, but we need to empathize with them and just explain to them that many times it's because they're just simply disinformed. I see.
You are being so nice right now. And I know it's partly because you've also studied disinformation. You've spoken on panels on disinformation. And so you know of what you speak for sure. Yeah. And I also am of the mindset that we have to forgive people and call them in. But I'm frustrated.
It's not easy. It's not easy. And sometimes people just, you can talk to them and you can try to explain, not in an antagonistic way, but I'm always up for debate, right? But a friendly, respectful debate. And sometimes people don't want that. Right? And then if that's the case, then there's nothing you can do.
But also, it's exhausting. Like, I'm not joking about the fact that I was on the floor crying the other day, because it shouldn't be this hard. It shouldn't be this hard. I mean, it's in the golden rule. Be nice to people. Treat them how you want to be treated. And so my frustration and exhaustion comes from looking at the world and going, I'm sorry, we're still doing the war thing. We're still doing the violence thing. We're how in the world is this where we're at? And everything's open secrets, right? So it's like, sexual assault is happening. That's an open secret. And well, the open secret is that men are unable, apparently, and I don't mean all men, just going to say that, but the men who are in charge are unable to resolve things diplomatically, peacefully. And how are we still at this point? And that's what's to me, until we start to have those harder conversations around that we always, I call them like the asterisk conversations, because you say it and then you're like, but I don't want to offend anybody. But I've noticed that all these wars are started mostly by men.
Right. And then those same men are the ones who say that women are too emotional and they cannot be in power because of that. So yeah, I think that's another challenge of our society these days, and that sort of like toxic masculinity and the alpha male bullshit, which is, to me, there's nothing more beta than that sort of like, chest thumping and come to the straight boot camp and we're gonna make you a man. I mean, first of all, there's nothing gayer than that, and I'm gay, so I can say that. But like, what is this? Like, what kind of world are we living in that you need to go to a boot camp just to do push-ups and get yelled at by someone so that you can feel more of a man? When I think there's nothing more. There's nothing that says self-confident. There's nothing more that says self-confidence and what's the opposite of toxic masculinity?
Healthy
Masculinity, but
yeah,
just like being
healthy,
empathetic and just like
well-rounded.
being there for others and just thinking of your community and we're all in the same boat, we all work together. This sort of hyper individualism that we're living in, and the anarcho libertarians of the world, the crypto bros and the freedom fighters that Javier Milei likes, I think that these are people who are just not empathetic because they feel that empathy is a weakness, and that's unfortunate.
But don't because I've been watching this manosphere content, and it's like the empathy is a weakness to them because it means they have to pay attention to their feelings, and so they don't want to feel, because feeling,
they're terrified of feeling.
It's hard. Feeling is hard, which is why, women, I think, have had to wrestle more times than not. And I think marginalized communities as well have to wrestle with our feelings and be able to continue to exist in a world where our feelings are often discounted. And so I think we need, therapy for everyone is.
Therapy is good, guys.
Therapy is
very good. It's like going to the gym. Don't be afraid of therapy.
That should be the podcast. Therapy. It's like going to the gym. Oh, what if we sneak? Oh my God. I have an idea. I've been doing this lately where
I can hear your brain like moving at the speed of light.
Hear me out. We swap out personal trainers with therapists, but we don't tell anybody.
Oh, wow. That's a good idea. I'm in.
I think we pretty much we've solved.
I think we just hit the this is gold. Good.
I'm gonna immediately research how to make this happen. So to wrap up, you said that you do have hope. So I'm going to ask you the question that I'm apparently going to ask at the end of all of these, which is it America, you've got this, or is it America, you've got this?
I think America, you've got this, with exclamation mark. I spent so many years in the United States. I have so many American friends. I understand the US inside and out, and I think that you guys are resilient. The reason why I am slightly hopeful is because I'm starting to see that many people who used to say, or who used to find ways to justify everything that Trump did, are now starting to say, this just isn't right, and it's not the only country where I'm seeing this. I mean, again, this is happening in Spain with Vox. This is happening in Argentina now with Javier Milei. I don't know if you read the international news, that's one thing, because I think that there's a very strong push in the international press for Milei to succeed. But things in Argentina are just going disastrously. And he is hitting rock bottom when it comes to popularity. He's doing with several corruption scandals. People are just starving. There's no money. And I think that 70% of the Argentine population, in a poll yesterday, said that when they heard of Milei, the first thing that came to their head, one word that came to their head, was shame. So I think that maybe this crazy period of 2016, 2026, I hope and I pray to the gods that maybe this is just going to be some like hangover in the future, and realize that, well, maybe we shouldn't just put the crazies in power, because turns out it's not that great.
So we're at the tail end of it. We just have to hope that they don't blow up the world in the process, and then we can all heal. And apparently at the gym, because somebody just said that there is trauma-informed strength training.
Oh, wow.
in Boston. So I don't know who this person is, but thank you for telling us this. I'm going to look it up. And that could replace CrossFit because CrossFit is not it. Thank you everyone for joining us on an inaugural America, You Got This. It's a morning show every Friday or when I feel like it.
Afternoon for us. So
afternoon for us, morning for you. And we're gonna, we're gonna keep it fun and light and happy and positive and hopeful.
yes,
and all those things, because that's how we've got this.
And thank you for inviting me to be a part of your first episode.
Yes, I'm grateful that you
Very
could
much
join me.
appreciated.
So thanks everyone. Have a good weekend.
everybody.
Hydrate, do all the things.